What's up guys? In this video we're going to be doing a mullet with a skin taper. So just done a little consultation with Andy and he is liking the curliness at the back here and he's liking the length on top, but he thinks it's just a little bit too overgrown and it's way too heavy on these parts of the head here. So what we're going to do is we're going to slim the shaping on the side panels here so that it actually works with the length a lot more up here, because if you can see it looks like he's got this little thin area here with the curtains and the curls, and then it balloons or puffs out here. So make sure this shape and this shape are sitting in a bit tighter so that it's flows in together a little bit more, blends in together. And then we're going to try and maintain the curls and the length at the bottom, but we're going to put some shape through it as well, just so that it's not so overgrown and chaotic at the back. First thing, as always, we're going to soak the hair down. I'm going to check all the growth patterns and stuff like that. I'm going to figure out where we're going to section it out to, break the haircut down into panels. So we're going to soak the hair, saturate it fully. And you can see all this starting to round out here. I've cut Andy's hair hundreds of times, so I know a lot of the way this puffs out is actually the way that the crown grows. It starts growing back on itself, so when you're trying to style this forward, it starts puffing up a little bit because a lot of the hair underneath is trying to grow back. So you just have to be mindful of these kind of things when you're choosing the length that you're cutting the hair to, because if you need it to sit a certain way and you cut it short to the point where there's not enough length or weight to counteract the natural way the hair is going to grow, that's when you're going to encounter problems when like styling it and getting it to sit properly. This is long as fuck, bro.
I think it's the longest it's been for a long time. So I think partly it's because I'm pushing it back a bit. I don't notice how long it is. Whereas before it was just sitting forward.
Yeah, I like it a bit longer.
Yeah.
Not this long, like, but a bit longer. Right, so with hair this long, a lot of the time you would section it from the apex, but because we're going to be styling it forward, we're going to actually work with the growth pattern in the crown. And we're just going to cut this panel and this panel separately, but we're going to try and connect it and match it so that the shape's even the way through it. Is that all going down your face? That's all right. So I'm going to brush all this forward, and we're going to find where the crown is. Easy way to do that, ruffle the hair up at the back, start paying attention to the way it's fallen, and then just aim for the roots, or look at the roots really closely, and just try and groom the hairs in the direction that the swirl's naturally trying to grow in. And you're going to start seeing the lines start revealing themselves to you and where you're going to section it out. So we're going to do what we've done in the past few videos, where we're separating the front from the back, but because it's a shorter hairstyle, we're not going to do it on the apex where the length kind of counteracts the crown. Because it's going to be shorter, we're going to have to work with it so that it doesn't all just ping out everywhere when we go to style it. So as you can see, it's swirling this way, swirling this way. So we're going to do a kind of radial section, but from the crown to behind the ears instead of the apex. So right here we'll start and just try and follow that natural growth pattern. Split behind the ear there. You'll know when you've got it right because nearly all the hairs will lie flat. So you can see these ones are lying flat. This one's kind of bending a little bit here, and that's because it's actually trying to grow forward. So we just take them, put it up there, and then we're going to come down here back up around this growth pattern behind the ear. I'll turn the chair a bit more. So you can see what I was talking about at the start there. This hair is trying to grow back. You can see when I comb it forward, it's trying to spring back. And that's fine. We're not going to get it all to sit exactly how we want it to at this length, but it's good to have a little, it's good to be aware of it, and it's good to have a little idea of what you're going to do with it just to try and control it. So we're splitting it here. And there we go. Now we've got our back panel, and we've got our front panel. And then we're going to basically break down the top, where we're going to maintain and pretty much keep most of it. We're going to have our side panels, where we're going to do some graduation. So we're going to build a little bit of weight along the contour and a little bit of length towards the back, so that the side panel and the back panel blend in together. But we're going to take it super short towards the sideburn, and then we're going to taper into it with the clippers. Oops. So I'm going to use the growth pattern in here. You can see it's trying to swirl all the way around there. We're just going to work with that through to the recession. And then same on the other side. About here. The thing with mullets as well, you want to cut your shape in clean, but they're a very messy, unkept looking hairstyle, so you can have a little bit more disconnection through it, like the length here and the length here are probably not going to join up exactly, because this hair is going to be so much longer. As long as it visually looks connected, you don't need to worry about having super precise connections all the way through all the different panels. So I'm going to start with the back. So I'm going to section off behind the ear again. And I'm going to layer the back, graduate the sides, and layer the top. Tiny bit more there. So you can see at the back here, this length here and here is actually not too bad, but it droops way more in the middle here, and that's just his natural hairline dipping down. So what I think we should do to maintain these curls, if we take these much shorter, because they're already shorter than these ones here, they're going to lose their curl a lot faster taking length. So I think we should use this length here as a reference point to what we should take this length to and where we should have it all sit. And what we want is the shape to start extending towards the bottom. So what I'm going to do is a round layer, and then we're going to extend it to the bottom. What would we call that? Exaggerating the length. Round layer this way, kind of triangular shape down this way. So I'm going to split the hair at the back, and I'm going to section off everything above the occipital bone. So from the bone here to the corner here, I'm going to split this hair up. This length for doing this is going to be pretty fiddly because this length up top's already shorter. So actually getting it up and out the way to clip it out the way, you can see these little ones don't quite reach it from the sides. So instead of being able to twist it into a bun, I'm just going to scrape it out the way. I think I'm going to need one of these. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So to this corner from here, I'm going to draw a straight line with the comb, as straight as you can get it. Comb this up and out the way. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a guide along the bottom of this, a round guide, so you can see this is shorter than this. So we're going to start in the middle here, and we're just going to match it with this length here. And the shape's going to be round, round. We're going to bring each section from here up to the guide, directing it up. So it's going to be like reverse over direction, which means these ones are going to have to travel further to get to here, and it's going to create this kind of shape. And then what I'm going to do is use the length for this as a guide for this. And we're going to do vertical sections coming out so that it's a round layer straight out from the head, but we're going to elevate it up so that it gets shorter to the top from this point here, and the shape from up here is going to flow all the way down, and it's going to be a nice perfect round shape around there. This is quite a fiddly way of doing this. You can use loads of clips to make it super precise, but I think if you're in the shop or you're in the salon or the hairdressers and you're on a time frame, I don't think you need to be mega precise. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit here, right in the middle. Going to bring it straight out. And we're going to take just over an inch off, maybe just under 2 inches. And this is just from the middle part of this. It's going to get longer down here and shorter up there. I'll do this side first. I'm going to take another bit of this section. And what to make sure as you're shuffling around, each bit of hair that you're going to cut is getting pulled straight towards you. So make sure your body position is 90 degrees from where you're trying to cut. There's the guide there. I'm going to shuffle around again. Shuffle a little bit more. You can see Those bits have already cut. The shape changes when I pull it straight out. So you can cut it again. All the way around here. And then it's going to connect them with these shorter lengths here. Go back round. Just check you've not built any corners. Make sure you've not stretched any of the scalp. And then we're going to do the same on this side. Straight out from the head, 90 degrees from the head. Make sure you lift your head a tiny bit there. Perfect. And shuffle again. And shuffle here again. Perfect. And now we've got a guide. So I'm going to tilt the head forward slightly. Section that way. Section that way. I'm going to come a little bit further down. And we're going to lift this all the way up to that guide that we just cut. So if you look under here, you can see this getting pulled up to this point. You're directing it up the way. And that's going to mean that you're taking less off of that. Because look, the root's having to travel all the way up and the guide is coming straight out. Then we'll go to the next bit. Come this down, bring this right up. Got our guide there. Shuffle again. We want to make sure by the time we're onto where the side is, that this bit is coming straight out. See how that starts getting longer when you were pulling it back a little bit? This needs to come 90 degrees out here. Split that again. And lift it straight up. Guide here, guide there. And then this is coming straight out. Not much coming off there. And then this stuff under here, it's probably not even going to reach up. Maybe through the centre a little bit, but it's going to maintain quite a good bit of that. And then this stuff here, it's longer than that. At the end, we can use the feather razor again and just break that out if it's dipping too low still. But we've maintained all of this under here, most of this. It should still have a bit of curl. So the next bit, we're going to be still doing a round layer, or a round shape horizontally. But we're going to cut these sections vertically now. So I'm going to stand on this side here, bro. So, first section, and then what we're looking for is this length under here. So, there's the guide that we cut first, and we're going to elevate it up slightly. So, we're pulling the section up, but the cutting line is still pretty much square. And we're going to snip this away. And this means that this is going to drop down, just slightly get shorter and flow into this. And to keep the shape round, when we're cutting it vertically, is the same as what we were doing with the first guide, where each section, instead of getting pulled back, is just going to keep coming straight off the head. So we're going to push the first section as the guide into the new one. Find the guide at the bottom, find the guide from behind, elevate it to the right amount. Find it there, and then just snip that. A good way to make sure you're coming straight out from the head is to look in the mirror, and if your hands are covering the section and you can't see it behind your hands, then you know you're coming straight out. Find a bit of that guide, elevate it up again, make sure it's straight out from the head, lift it, right, little break there for a screaming child outside. On the last section of the side of the back. So let's see, we have a guide, yeah. So split this here, and the last one is going to come straight out here. And this is the part that we're going to hopefully use to connect a little bit to the sides. So coming straight out, and you can see how the shape of the guide is a bit triangular, and then we lift it up and it's square. Let me take this off. Now this flows down into all this length at the bottom. So same on the other side. You're going to stand facing the same way. This would be opposite if you're left or right-handed, or be opposite from left to right-handed. If you're left-handed, you'd probably be standing on this side, using your right hand. Right-handed, and be on this side. So groom all this out of the way. And then just repeat the process. So we're going to find both our guides from the bottom here, and then here as well, lift it up. We're going to snip this off. We're pulling the old section into the new section now. you want, if we look at the roots here, you want the new section to be coming into the old, you want the old section, the one we've already cut, the guide, to be coming into the new section, and you want the new section to be coming straight out from the head. Find the guides, lift it up, there it is there. I'm coming further and further around my body position as well. So I'm standing like to the side now, and I'm looking kind of like over the back. Find a little bit from beneath, lift up. Make sure all these roots are tight and groomed straight out, lift. Falls down in there. Split that off again. Couple more sections here. Lift it up. And then the last one is be coming straight out. We're going to see that length at the bottom there, last one. Cool. Now we have the shape where we've got a little bit of the curls and the waves down there. A little bit of this probably need to take away. That should be fine for now. And we've got a little bit of length here to connect to there. So the length's already kind of semi-connected here. But what we're going to need to do is make the shape like this now. So there's a few ways you could do this. You could go horizontally, which is going to let you have a lot more control of this. But one of the main problem areas was how much weight was building up here, and I want to control that a little bit more because that's one of the focus points of this haircut is slimming that down. So I'm going to go forward diagonal, and what I'm going to do is now I'm going to start using graduation. So I'm going to control the weight with my cutting line, and I'm going to control the shape by pushing each of these old sections into the new one, getting tighter to the head towards the front. So we're going to bring this out. And I'm going to angle my fingers towards, out at the top, knuckles in tighter towards the bottom. And I can just start taking this. A little bit tighter and down there. Split this again. I'm going to push this into the new one. So as the head starts rounding away, we're going to be taking more off. Tighter and tighter to the bottom, especially down towards the sideburns. This might be easier to see on the other side. Just swap around them there. There it is there. And see how more and more is coming off as we get to the front, and we're getting shorter and shorter. My fingers are almost completely tight at the bottom here. This bit here, this has got nothing to do with the taper, so we can just connect this in. Kind of want a little bit of this length just along the contour anyway. This is going to flow in with the top. So now we've got it matching our shape at the back, pretty much connected, tiny little bit, and you can see the shape getting tighter towards the bottom. See, it's like almost like triangular. And then we've got a nice little base length there to taper into, and all this is connected. And we can maybe clean up around the ears a little bit. And do the same on the other side. So, same thing, different hand position. So my fingers are going to be tight towards the bottom this time. I'm going to angle it with the top. Take a load of this off. You can see a little bit of the guide from the back there, so we know we're roughly cutting it to a connected length. And we're going to push and follow the head shape down, tighter there. I always find this side a little bit more fiddly when we're doing it this way. And we're controlling that weight with a cutting line. A couple more sections. And then scooping under, pushing it along. Fingers are tight against the head there. Use the mirror to make sure you're pulling it out square still. Square from the root, triangular cutting line sticking out from behind the fingers. And then we're just going to snip these last little bits away. And that'll connect right there. Want to take a little bit off this? Yeah. So, to make sure this panel and this panel are connected, we're just going to use this as a guide, because what we want is the shape to match up at the back here for the mullet. So we're going to do a profile section. We're going to take just a tiny little bit from the back here. is it? There we go. We're just going to use this little short length as a guide. And we're just going to cut this completely square. And then square horizontally on top. This is nice and basic. We don't need to go into too much detail on this bit here. It's just a pretty basic square layer, using the profile as the guide. Just make sure you're doing your sections to the appropriate thickness based on how thick the hair is. Thicker hair, do thinner sections. If I'm cutting above my fingers like this, I always like to leave a little bit of guide sticking out and actually just hover the scissors just above. Get the cutting line nice and clean. You're trying to get as close to a pure shape as you can with the amount of time you have to cut the hair in the salon. So now you can wear that in the curtains. Wear it forward and messy as well. This is just a completely square shape, so there's not really enough length to do much of a connection here. We could take that little bit off there, but to be honest, I think that length would be better just kept on top rather than connecting it to the sides. I think visually it doesn't even really look disconnected if you're going to bring it back, if you're going to push it back and wear it in the curtains. Let's put a bit of cream in it. Cream of some young guy. Cream of some young guy.
Some young guy.
Some young guy. Never seen that video?
No.
It's Rampage Jackson and Stipe. And they're like to the podcast host, you ever tried cream of some young guy? And he's like, nah, what is it? And they're like, they're like, it's a Japanese delicacy. And he's like, oh, I'll need to try it. And they're like fucking pissing themselves out. Nah, it's not. I don't know who it is. It's like the guy, I think it's the guy who does the podcast with Rampage Jackson. They have Stipe on. So, Going to put some cream in, super light hold. It's just going to help enhance and hold the curls a little bit tighter, but it's not really going to feel like you got anything in it. It's going to be very natural. Just maybe like that much. You can even see the shape here is way more slimmed in now. It's going to sit a lot better, it's not puffing out as much. With a haircut like this, you could just pretty much just leave it to dry itself most of the time. We're going to have to dry it now because we're going to clipper it, but you could just chuck that cream in and jump out the shower, towel dry it, put it in and leave it and it'll all dry in. You can even just see the shape and the texture of it already. So high heat, low power. This hairdryer is almost going to die on me, so hopefully we can dry it before it turns itself off. I'm just going to slightly push back into the curls just to bend them a little bit, but you don't want to manipulate it and touch it too much with this kind of hair. You just want to let it do its thing naturally. Make sure we get these parts dried first because this is the bit we're going to be tapering into. Sweet, so that'll be dry enough. You can let the rest of it do itself naturally, and then we can just taper this out. So, pretty much the same as most fades and tapers. Get the two in the comb, tilt the head slightly, and then we're just going to flick into this length and weight that we created there with the graduation. So make sure you've combed anything that could be going into the hairline away. I'm going to do like a 2.5 because it is a bit longer. We're just going to flick into there. Close to the two, take all this down. Just soften this weight a tiny little bit. You can do this with scissor overcomb or clipper overcomb. You can do it as you go. Just whatever you find easiest. I like using clipper overcomb with a longer Garzon bit like this because I feel like it has a bit of a softer finish than going in with the the raw blade on clipper over comb. We're going to put the skin line in, just below the ear here. Leave enough so that we can still shape up around here a little bit. And just pulling the ear down just slightly, just so we can touch in around that hairline there. And I'm going to go with the grain, just so we don't cut all that length away. It just kind of merges from the really short length into the longer stuff tucking behind the ear. Get the foils. Old school wall guard, number 1, open to 1.5. Then we're just going to blend down. So flick into just where the 2 was. Close to the 1. Flicking into the 1.5. I'm trying to stay away from this to keep that darkness there a little bit, just so you can see the shape up around the ear. Same around here. Then 0.5 and then 0. And here I've got my finger in this little rest bit and I'm like pushing with my fingers and pulling down with my thumb. I'm just getting a really kind of tight flick on it. I'm almost using the skin as like a ramp to flick off of. .5 just to touch it up a tiny little bit. And then scissor over comb the rest of this and just work into the length there. Just softening it slightly. Just moving your thumb, keeping the bottom blade still. And then I'm going to get the trimmer. And we're just going to kind of tilt it like that. You can see where there's kind of a natural gap in the hairline there. We're just going to use that to create a bit of a sharper exterior around it. I'm going to keep all this length there on top of it because it's all going to flow in together. And then get the neck hairs under here. You can see the stuff that's trying to grow back that we mentioned at the start actually flows back in there. And the stuff above it where we kept that length and weight can sit over the top of it. Two, 2.5. Flick into that. Because it doesn't grow back on itself as much, it's not creating as much of that weight that we had on the first one that we had to deal with, even though it's the same length. A little bit less refinement stuff to do. skin below the hook of the ear. Bring the ear down again. Sometimes you want to shape up once you've finished the taper or fade with ones like this where you want to like keep a little bit of that darkness. I like doing the shape up first so you can see the darkness that you're trying to keep and you know to stay away from it. Get some of this as well while we're here. And then same process, descend down 1.5. The bigger the guard, the bigger the flick. Keep combing it, make sure it's all sitting right. You don't want to fade it in the wrong position and then you brush it later and you've taken a little bit of it too short or too high. So there we go, see a little bit of the weight building up now. All you have to do, 1.5 guard, and just soften it a little bit. .5. 0. In between. You get 0.5 guard and just refine it all a little bit. Gonna have to stand here, bro. Scissor over comb into this. Good thing about scissor over comb is you can just take a tiny little bit at a time, especially in areas where you kind of want to maintain a lot of the length. You can just touch it and until visually it's all connected and blended together. It's not like you take a guard and it just whacks it all down to one length. You can adjust, and as you get better at it, start changing the angles, start cutting bits of it a little bit more than others. Go super tight against there to help with the fade. Lift it up here. And then you just clean up there. Take some of it down a little bit. Then tilt the head forward. And just strengthen up the hairline around the C cup. And then there was the last bit here. maybe touch a little bit of these wispy ones off at the bottom. So I'll tuck your chin a little bit more. So we've got this, and then this is just a little bit too much. Just where the bottom of his hairline kind of comes down here, we can just touch some of this off. Don't need to do anything too precise. Just balance it out a little bit. Make sure you're not leaving any long ones. And then the shape's a bit more balanced now just by touching those little bits off there. And there we go. Right guys, there we go. We have a modern mullet, nice and messy, curly. Can be worn in curtains on top. You can style it however you want. We've got graduation and a skin taper on the sides. We have a round layer on the back that we exaggerated towards the bottom. And yeah, we worked with the growth patterns. Made sure we chose the correct length for all the puffiness and the weight that kind of naturally builds up around the sides. So very easy haircut to do, very easy haircut to style and wear. Keeps it clean with the taper. And there we go, easy as that. If you have any other requests of any other haircuts you want to see, comment them in below. And if you found it helpful, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching.